let's talk now about GitHub Actions. GitHub Actions, it actually automation around your GitHub repository, and everybody can create a GitHub action directly from its repository. So basically, on the website of GitHub and on the features, we can see that when we push on our repository or when we make a change, we can trigger some scripts that will do some operation. We are currently on our repository and we got this tab called Actions. And when I click on it, we can see that we can read, build, test, and deploy your code, make code reviews, branch management, etc., etc. But what are GitHub Actions? If we go on the official website, we can see that we can automate our workflow from idea to production, thankfully to GitHub Actions. Basically, with GitHub Actions, before we push or after we push or when we want, we can trigger scripts that are going to do some operation. And here we got a good example. Here we see that before merging the pull request, some scripts have been triggered. And we can see that we had a success, or it could have failed, for instance. So basically, those scripts can be written here in YAML. And we've got some example down here. We would like to deploy to Azure. We can have a script. We can also, for instance, use coveralls to track the test coverage metrics that we got here. And if you don't know how to write YAML, you can come back here. And we got some scripts that are suggested. So let's go a bit down and we can see here, for instance, that we got some GitHub action about continuous integration or automation or pages. And here we can see that we got a special script to here package a Next.js website. And we got all other options if we want to set up a GitHub action by ourselves. Let's start with one which is about security. And here we got dependency review. By GitHub Actions, scan pull request on each push for the introduction and or resolution of vulnerable dependencies of the repository. So it's a script actually which is a dependency review. So if I click here on configure, immediately I'm arriving on a YAML editor and we can see here something interesting. We can see that here I got the name of my repository and I got this folder called .github workflow and we got this YAML file. So here, this GitHub folder here is basically on my repository on GitHub, but doesn't appear right now in my project, okay? So here, this will be the repository, the hidden repository, where we will store the action inside the workflow. Okay, so we can see here that this action will scan dependency manifest file that change as part of a pull request, etc., etc. So here we got also other featured action that we could use later, but here we can see that we can change, if we want to, the action called dependency review. So I'm going to click on commit change, and here of course I need to commit to the main branch the head of this GitHub repository. So I'm going to commit directly on the main branch. I could create a new branch also, of course, for that, but I'm going to click on commit changes. And what's going to happen is that suddenly I got this GitHub folder with the dependency review, and we can see that we got the file. So if I come back to the project, we can see suddenly that we got GitHub workflow. And here, if I git switch on main and I git pull, here, what I'm going to have here is the GitHub folder with the file. So I also got the file in here. So now let's try to create a new branch called git checkout. And it's going to be GitHub action test. And there we go. And here I'm going to add a new title, Hello GitHub Actions. There we go. I'm going to type git add git commit -m. And I'm going to put GitHub Actions test. And I'm going to type git push. And of course, I don't have the branch, so I can put that directly in here. I'm going to get back. And what's going to happen here, so I still got this branch one. is that I got the pull request. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to say, hey, it's a core actually pull request that I want to add. Adding my first GitHub action title. Okay. So we have everything in here. I'm going to assign myself on the label. I'm going to add here a core label. Let's say that it's going to be like this, and we can see that I can add it like this, and there we go. And I'm going to create a pull request. Okay, and if I look down, we can see that one check have been passed. Before here, this branch has no conflict. And if I click on show all the checks, we can see that dependency review checked my pull request. And here we can see that we have a job that has been triggered, a cron, like something that was planned, and it checked for all the dependency. And we can look at it here. We see that everything happened, and we can see that we have cleaning up orphan processes. So basically the GitHub action has been triggered when I created the pull request in that case. Of course, you can create here your own YAML file that can happen on a certain event. And here we can see that the event is push on. So I'm not going to show you how to write the entire YAML on this course, because this is just like an introduction on what are GitHub Actions and how to use them. But we saw that here, before all the check pass, here, before the branch has the option to merge, we've got here this GitHub action that has been triggered. So which is interesting is that we could add a lot of actions in here depending on what I would like to do. So if I click on choosing a new workflow, a new action, here we can see that I got other options that I can add to the project. And let's come back to security, for instance. Here we can see that we can put some check before every time I got a new pull request. For instance, ESLint, a tool for identifying and reporting the problem here, and I can click on configure. It's going to use here all this code. I'm not going to look closely at it, but I'm going just to add here my eslint.yaml, and suddenly there we go. So here I'm going to update because I already had it in cache. I got my eslint.yaml. So before that, I need to merge this branch, and we see that the check is passing again. I'm going to click on merge pull request. I'm going to confirm. So my pull request has been done. I can actually repull. So I got here hello GitHub action. And let's say that I make something like this. And I put git add, git commit. I can now create a pull request. Here we can see that our two checks haven't been completed, and we gotta wait for it. So we got a dependency review, and then we got the ESLint here, scanning. And sometimes those checks can take a long time. And suddenly, look at this. We can see that I got a problem here on my pull request because I don't respect the ESLint rules. GitHub Actions are automated tasks, and these tasks can include building, testing, and deploying your code. You define these tasks using simple configuration file called YAML file, and these GitHub Actions can help you save time and ensure the quality of your software development by automating repetitive and manual processes. In essence, GitHub Actions help you to automate your routine development tasks, making your workflow more efficient and reliable.